No.
Why would I mind? You think I would say anything about it? I'm going to take my glasses off, though.
I'd rather you didn't.
What about the shirt?
Well, Edgar's not available, so
Okay.
hopefully he's down
In the...
meeting with Beth.
Okay.
He's supposed to meet him at 10. So I'll bring him in.
All right.
Good to go.
It won't be long.
Yeah.
Again, famous last words.
Yeah.
We got a cameo appearance at the end by Edgar.
Yeah, he'll pop in.
So, coming off of Sean, I guess would be the best way to start.
Uh-huh.
How soon after that did the rumblings of Hot Fuzz begin?
I don't know, I think it started quite soon after. I think we'd finished it, and then, you know, they took a bit of time off, and then decided that, you know, this was their next... I think Edgar always wanted to do a big action film.
It seems like there's a lot of extrapolation coming out of Spaced. You can actually see all the genres they eventually want to get to as you watch Spaced.
Yeah, I guess you set things up, don't you, early on in your career for your turn-ons later on in life, you know. So
you look back and chart your entire career for the next 5 years by looking back at Spaced.
Spaced, yeah.
So what are we going to do next?
Yeah,
well, a war film.
Okay, we got to do a war film. They've kind of all been done, haven't they? All the good wars have been taken, right?
I don't know. They were creating new ones all the time.
They are creating new ones all the time.
So going in, did they have... I mean, when were you presented with, this is what we're doing next?
Well, you know, quite early on, because, I'm their mate. So I'm always around and, you know, what do you think of this, and what do you think of this idea? But, you know...
That's a loaded question.
They just fucking get on with it. They just sit down and bang it out, and then a year and a half later we're ready to shoot. That's when I come in.
So they give you a good call saying, you know, it's between you and Phil Jupitus at this point.
Yeah, I think Phil...
We're kind of on the fence.
What will you give us?
Yes, what concessions will you make? Do you work cheap?
I think Phil would have needed a bigger trailer than me. And just the physicality of it all.
Well, then you were still below Bill Bailey.
Yeah. Oh, I know that. I know my place in the food chain.
Did they make it quite clear to you all the time?
Yeah.
You know, just like that, we can replace you.
I've got a shirt that says, "You're not Bill. Remember, you're not Bill Bailey."
Did Bill give you that shirt?
Yeah.
Is that the one that has the vole on the back?
It's got Bill's famous vole on the back.
Badger Time.
Yeah.
So what? Yeah.
That's what he's doing, isn't he? A documentary series about beavers or fucking...
I think he just finished the beaver documentary.
Otters it was.
No, he finished the otter one too.
Right,
He's actually
right.
on to a new animal.
Well, and
I think Phil was talking about he just adopted some kind of small squirrel, like rare squirrel now to keep around the house.
Phil has a menagerie.
I heard that he has, well, the birds I knew about, but I didn't know that he actually started to move into other exotic animals.
Yeah, I think he's got all sorts.
He does realize he has a kid now, right?
Yeah. It's hidden in the...
in one of the cages?
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you talk about the idea, how exactly was the idea presented to you? We're going to do...
Well,
is there Sad's cop film, or...
well, you know, I don't really have much say in that kind of part of the deal, but, you know, just from hanging out and stuff, you kind of... You know, we got together quite early on and watched a fucking big pile of films. Big pile of cop films and stuff.
Which one stands out in your memory?
Bad Boys 2. I think
now we know the template.
I think, yes, definitely. I think after Bad Boys 2 finished, I couldn't go on. I didn't see the point of watching, you know, another cop film.
Is that the one they started with? This is the first one?
Yeah.
Just knocked you right out?
That was it. I see you later.
We didn't even get to Bad Boys yet. We're going in reverse. Changing it up.
Yeah. But, yeah, well, you know, they just watched a lot of films and then they're off. And then, you know, I'm in a position where I get a script at quite a nice early stage, so then, you know, I can start planning what I'm going to do, and you know, they just set to work polishing and you know.
So handed that character. What was your first thought when you were handed that character?
Brilliant. Brilliant. I get to be a policeman for 15, 14 weeks or whatever it was.
I mean, it's quite a bit different than your Sean character or your hyperspace character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is great. I mean, you know, Edgar and Simon and me have been working together for so long that it's you never look at something on the, you know, that it's written for me, you know, and with me in mind. So there's never that much work for me to do, you know, apart from remember.
You really shouldn't be saying that. You should be saying, you know what? It's a hell of a lot of work. I should be paid more. They take me for granted.
Well, you know, all that is taken. But you know, it's just a fucking pleasure. It's a bit boring saying that all the time, working with those two. But
well, then start creating this whole other reality. So you know what? They're hell to work with. So you know, Edgar never even shows up.
Edgar was a dream on this film to shoot with. It was great.
Now, have you seen an evolution in working with him for so many years?
Yeah.
The confidence evolution, or just the rapport that you two had?
Well, you know, he's just great at his job now. You know, he. I don't know what the finished article for a director is, but he's on this. You can get quite worried thinking, oh, I hope Edgar's all right, but he just. And plus, we had such big actors in the film as well. He was just on his best behaviour and on top form all the time. You know, it was a real.
Do you worry about it? Do you worry sometimes he's going to go off book and just go snap one day? Like, how could you do that? That was a guest star.
Machete comes onto set.
That was Hollywood that was here.
You know, that was John Hollywood.
How could you?
Yeah.
Simon's in his trailer crying right now.
How could you piss on this guy? Literally.
This thing is a virtual cameo fest.
Yeah, it is. They just some days you're just sitting there in the green room looking around, and it's, you know, just packed fucking full of.
But who was the one?
So Edgar is a fuck. Oh.
You know, that's the nicest thing he said so far.
Oh no. Man, how you doing?
I'm alright. Are you alright?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
So now you're here to counter everything he said.
What has he said? Let's jerk off there.
Horrible to work with.
Really?
Just abysmal.
Late.
Yeah, lazy.
Always. I still haven't packed.
Haven't you?
No, it took me 5 minutes.
Where the valet is doing it right now.
No. Sorry. Where were we?
We hadn't really started. We were just.
We were talking about Bad Boys 2.
We were filling, yeah.
Oh, a classic.
Also known as Nick's Breaking Point.
Nick's
I
Breaking.
think I went home immediately, didn't I? After that, I didn't wait around to watch Lethal Weapon 4.
Was it when we had a little?
Simon's, yeah.
I don't think Simon watched Lethal Weapon 4. What did we watch as well? We watched 2 in a row. Or did we just watch Bad Boys 2?
I left after. I didn't see the point of going on.
Where could you go after Bad Boys?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, obviously Edgar went somewhere. You guys left.
Yeah, I think we tried to have a marathon, and Bad Boys 2 was kind of like enough film for one afternoon.
So really, it was.
I do genuinely like it.
Yeah.
I do.
So why did you skip right over Bad Boys and go straight to Bad Boys 2?
I think Bad Boys 2 is the better one. It's longer. It has more.
Well, obviously it was longer.
More obnoxious. It's just more carnage. More things get smashed up.
You get 50% more frightened Martin Lawrence.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like Michael Bay, like sort of his kind of thing. It's his thing is like his key set piece is things being thrown off the back of something at something else, which he has now done about 5 times. The Island and Bad Boys 2 has exactly the same set piece. In like Bad Boys, it's cars being thrown off a transporter. In The Island, it's train wheels being thrown off the back of a transporter. In Bad Boys 1, it's oil drums being thrown off the back of a van. And also in Bad Boys 2, it has corpses being thrown off the back of a hearse. He does it twice in one film.
In Armageddon, it was Ben Affleck and Bruce Willis being thrown off the back of a shuttle.
But I like the idea that you could sort of like just, I don't know why they felt the need to pad out time in a 2.5-hour film that they would do the same set.
It's Michael Bay. It's Hollywood.
I know.
Maybe he pays for them in a lump sum. You know, he pays for 5 or 10 at once, and then
there's a couple of set pieces he has to use, like a 5-pack of set pieces.
Yeah.
I got this voucher for corpses coming out of a van. I'm going to redeem it now.
Otherwise, it's worthless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, would you say that there are any set pieces that recur within your films that you can point to, or elements that are signature elements you keep returning to? Besides
I
quality.
suppose signature elements, fence jumping.
Yeah.
There's a couple of like sort of like it's not a sequel to Shaun, but there are a couple of like nods. So ice cream and fences, I think, would be our signatures.
Homoeroticism.
Homoeroticism.
Is that a signature or a crutch?
I think it's just sort of a cry for help. No, we definitely there's definitely a high kind of ice cream theme in all of our films, I think. But it's you know, we're just hoping at some point that the makers of Cornetto ice creams will give us some free shit.
Yeah.
So is that the cry now? Yeah, you know
We
what?
did it, the Shaun
That
of
should
the
be
Dead-
the
Shaun of the
T-shirts.
Dead premiere. Like, one of my proudest moments is that we had a Cornetto stand.
That's
They
right.
had like sort of what's the American?
Walls.
No, but what's
Oh.
the Nutty Butties?
Nutter butter or something.
No, it's like the
Cone.
like a drumstick kind of.
Yeah, a drumstick kind of thing. Next. Sorry.
That was the best thing.
Completely threw me.
So I mean, going in then to the film, and what was the main things that you were looking to accomplish with it?
I think, you know what, I've always like been a really big fan of action films and cop films, and there's just something that like when I sort of was a teenager and I used to make amateur films, I always used to kind of make things in my hometown that kind of would never happen in my hometown. And because kind of England, I suppose, I kind of grew up in the country, because it, you know, has, you know, like a picture postcard sort of sleepy kind of vibe to it, and, you know, so kind of doing crime films and police films in the UK is kind of ridiculous. And there isn't really no like cop genre in the UK. There's lots of gangster films. You get loads of gangster films, and usually where you're supposed to be rooting for the gangsters, but you get hardly any cop films at all. Mainly, A, because I think because they don't, in the most part, have guns, and B, because it's just kind of uncool. Whereas in the States, you know, you can have cool cop films. Do you know what I mean? And there seems to sort of, so there just isn't like a genre of cop films in the UK. So we thought it'd be funny to try and do, like,
To try and jumpstart that genre?
not just do that, but like sort of try and work out in a very sort of like a, how could you possibly do a Lethal Weapon or Bad Boys style film in kind of, you know, the sleepy kind of rural,
In the southwest.
beautiful English countryside. So that was really the aim. So it's kind of like a similar thing to Shaun in a way, in terms of like sort of born out of a huge affection for those films. So kind of like half satirizing, but half just.
But almost making a suburban
Reveling.
genre kind of thing.
Oh, sorry.
Some kind of suburban genre.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know, in a similar way that, you know, that's with Shaun, kind of, that was one of the things that really appealed to us, was the, I think it's in this water. That was one of the things that really appealed to us, was, you know, kind of literally doing action and in our backyard, and this was kind of a similar thing, really. But it was just fun to do kind of like another, you know, another genre that we really, you know, love.
So when you talk about trying to transplant that kind of genre, when
Yeah.
you have the difficulties then within the Southwest, what were the biggest challenges when you're actually looking at that sort of, you know, adaptation of an urban sort of cop thing for a suburban, slightly rural? I mean, you're making it sound more like Middle Earth than than what it actually is.
Like,
Yeah.
sort of, well, Tolkien benched kind of like Middle Earth on like the West Country.
This part, it's quite a weird area, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose what would be I don't know what the kind of the equivalent over here would be. I suppose like a Midwest kind of thing in a sense, in terms of like, it's my kind of like home area, but it's definitely one of those
Pacific
things that's like,
Northwest, that kind of.
yeah, it's that kind of
Portland
thing.
area.
Yeah, like sort of I suppose like the equivalent of like sort of Fargo in that way of
Yeah.
like, the West Country accent is something that like, and I can say this because I'm from this area, but it's kind of, you know, when you have kind of like regional accents which are usually kind of like summed up to, you know, sort of depict somebody as being dumb,
Yeah.
and the West Country accent is kind of like that, because people talk a bit like that and it makes them sound a bit thick.
Yeah.
And but we thought that sort of like to do it in that area because me and Simon are both from that area when we grew up there, and again, similar thing of like a kind of love-hate relationship with, you know, kind of where you're from. Similar thing to Shaun again, like in a way, like Shaun was like our North London film, because we all kind of live in North London now, and Hot Fuzz is kind of set where we grew up, you know, in the country.
So what are the traumas you're still working through?
I think sort of like, we ended up filming in my hometown, and there's definitely a slightly subversive element of bringing my hometown to a standstill, which we achieved on numerous occasions.
They were very good about it.
They were
on the
cool.
whole.
On the whole, they were cool about it.
So now you're the town's favorite son.
They
Sounds
sort
only.
of like, it went... There's a lot of inbreeding. I am the town's only son.
Yeah. And its father.
I am my own
Took
father.
them years to create you.
I think Wells, there's Edgar and then like a famous rapist. That's it.
Who has the statue?
The rapist.
The rapist, yeah.
Well, a couple more films, maybe. Maybe you could share the statue with the rapist.
I'd like to share a
Standing on
podium.
his shoulder.
I'd like to share a podium with the rapist.
Oh, which
I
we're
do
gonna
like the
do.
panel in. You beat me to it. You beat me to it.
See, it just writes itself.
Oh my god.
So how many actors did you go through before you decided on Nick?
Didn't 4 or 5 fat actors die?
Yeah.
And then it was kind of just
We thought-
me left.
Yeah, we were waiting to see whether you're going to go this after Shaun of the Dead, whether you go the kind of the route of having a huge kind of like a like a speedball kind of like induced death.
Yeah.
And then when Nick
On an LA trip, just
Yeah.
never hear from him again. They
Just
find him in the...
yeah.
But no. To be perfectly honest, I mean, obviously, that the film was written for Simon and Nick, and you know what's weird? Like there was something like one review of the film, and it was actually like there was a review of the film in the UK that sort of like, and it wasn't an entirely positive review, but there was one thing that I thought that was really probably the highest compliment that they could have said of you and Simon, is they said that like sort of Pegg and Frost are the new Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor. I thought
Nice.
that's great.
Now,
I
who's
thought
who?
that-
Who's who?
I think, well, you've got to be the Pryor, haven't you? How does that work?
So when are you doing your Superman 3?
Everything just comes back to me dying in a cocaine-fueled crank-induced
Crank.
fireball.
Isn't that the new Jason Statham film?
Crank.
It's like he gets it like a Beijing cocktail of. Have you seen that trailer?
No, what?
He gets.
To him? I don't know. I haven't.
Have you seen that trailer?
Yeah.
For Crank.
Statham.
He gets injected with a Beijing cocktail of adrenaline, and he's got 24 hours to live, but he has to keep up his adrenaline levels for 24 hours.
What an amazing story.
So it's like a one-man speed.
Yeah, when Jason Statham goes under 40 miles an hour, he explodes. That's how it works.
Much like you.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, so no, to get back to it. So, I mean, Simon and Nick are such, an amazing double act, and, we wanted to kind of, write two kind of parts. And two different, like the two characters, Danny Butterman and Nicholas Angel, are very different from Sean and Ed, and like Tim and Mike in Spaced as well. So it was fun, and Simon's character is very different. Yours less so.
Mm-hmm. Still bumbling.
What are you trying to say? You being pigeonholed into a certain type?
No.
No.
So,
You got to play a captain of a starship
yeah, I did.
in
Commander.
in a major series.
Yes, I did.
So,
No Simon anywhere.
so in other words, the only way you can actually embrace whatever you can possibly be within the industry is to back as far away from them as possible.
That's what I'm planning on doing after today.
In fact, he's not flying back. He's heading up to Hollywood, taking a couple of meetings, checking into the Chateau Mama.
Yeah.
I know,
Not the Belushi room.
no. I'm going to have the Chris Farley suite.
I believe there's a weight check before you get into the Belushi room.
Oh man. Does the Belushi room still exist?
Oh, yeah.
I kind of
Is
sort
it
of
called the Belushi room?
No,
No.
but the number's the same.
Right.
Right.
So on your next visit, that's the one to stay in.
I saw a thing like I saw the Best of John Belushi the other day.
In fact, there's still a complimentary needle by the bed.
Right. Nice. In the Bible.
Yes.
I saw an interview like that they did maybe about a couple of months before he died, Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi, where they were joking about the fact they sort of said, "Where would you like to see yourself in 10 years' time?" And John Belushi says, "I'm going to be dead."
Oh, that was for Neighbours. They were doing press
Yes,
for
right,
Neighbours.
on Gene Shalit.
Oh yeah, it was like one of the morning programs.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
most awkward appearance. He's strung out. Aykroyd's wearing looking very stern, and they're like, yeah, that was the most somber for one of the most awkward movies ever made.
Oh man.
So there you go, remake of Neighbours. You and Simon.
What buddy films could we remake?
Well, obviously you have to go for the Gene Wilder, Richard Pryor or now.
Well, we said that this. We're hoping this is our Stir Crazy rather than our See No Evil Hear No Evil,
Yeah.
or Another You if you want to go all out. That's the one that nobody's seen. I haven't even seen that one.
No, I haven't.
That was there was a much latter kind of Pryor and Wilder thing.
Should remake All of Me.
Really?
Just Nick in Simon's body possessing it.
Oh, I'm in.
I'd like to...
Or we could do, what's the one where the guy's injected into the other bloke?
Oh, Inner Space?
Inner Space. We could remake Inner Space.
Well, that's you have to do, if you're going genre by genre, as it appears you're doing, and I wouldn't say that you are, so you have to go some kind of sci-fi thing next.
It's true.
Maybe you could inject me into Simon's anus.
Well, then you're covering all the bases that you've covered, as he's eating an ice cream cone.
Oh, dear. I don't know what it is about the word anus that's immediately funny. It's just a lot funnier than ass, and like, it's just one of those words. I don't know what it is.
It's quite medical.
I think the medical terms are funnier than slang.
Yeah.
Anyway, we digress.
No, I like it. Now the conversation's gotten interesting. What other medical terms find funny?
Oh, I got, hang on.
Come on.
Well, scrotum is a funny word.
Scrotum is a funny word.
Yeah.
Bell end, although...
Bell end
Yes.
is slang. No, that goes,
Obviously, you've seen medical professionals come in.
You don't go to
Examine the bell end.
I'm afraid there's a problem with your bell end.
Unless they're a big Ali G fan.
I'm afraid you've got cancer of the bell end.
Oh my god. This is going out live, right?
Yes, it is. Say hello to everyone.
We're on national radio right now, National Public Radio.
Yes, we're on Book Talk right now. So, do you feel you've accomplished what you wanted to accomplish going in?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, it's weird being here because it feels quite premature in that we finished filming 3 weeks ago, and I've only been editing for like 2 whole weeks, and but it was amazing. It was a crazy. I don't know if you saw any of the blogs and stuff that we did online. I mean, it was a crazy kind of shoot, and it was just fun to kind of. I mean, one of the things actually for me, less so for Simon and Nick because they actually get to do things, but one of the things that I've kind of realised with both Sean and kind of Hot Fuzz is, as a director, you kind of write these things which are essentially like living out your boyhood fantasies, and then from my end of it, I don't get to do any of them. No. So I don't get to do any.
But whose fault is that? Now, if you're M. Night Shyamalan,
yes, exactly.
You could push these 2 out.
Were you in it at all?
I am in it briefly.
What did you play? The famous rapist?
Yeah, I did
and a statue dedication.
I did get to share the screen with Dalton. I kind of thought I wanted to be on the screen with Prince Baron.
Yeah, yes.
So there was we got him to where I'd like to announce Timothy Dalton has his Prince Baron moustache.
Yeah.
So we got him in kind of like sort of Baron mode.
Now, was that actually in the writing? You're going, can we do this? Can we get him into the...
It's weird, like, we didn't, I wouldn't say that we wrote the character for him, but he was somebody who's kind of came up very early on, and we didn't kind of really, for some reason, I just think we just assumed that he was living over here now and stuff, and it was kind of, as soon as it started to become like a thing about, God, what if we got Timothy Dalton to play the part? And now I can't imagine anybody else playing that part. He was brilliant.
He was so menacing, wasn't he?
He was so funny.
So what was the biggest surprise in casting, besides...
It's got a pretty crazy cast, I have to say. And what was such a trip was kind of like seeing. It's a big ensemble film, and it's so kind of fun sort of seeing actors together that you would never really put together. And so that was great. So there's kind of like
Simon and Nick.
Well, that's no, it's just amazing because there's a lot of as well as like Simon and Nick in terms of like the kind of the police force. I suppose are probably played more by the kind of comedy actors. And so there's kind of Steve Coogan, Martin Freeman, Bill Nighy, who else? Olivia Colman, Kevin Eldon, Bill Bailey, Jim Broadbent, and then kind of like the people who are in the kind of the village, the sort of the elders of the village. It's just a kind of like an all-star British thespian.
Yeah.
Edward Woodward, Billy Whitelaw, Ken Cranham, Stuart Wilson, Dalton. Who else? Paul Freeman, Belloc. It was amazing.
It's Belloc.
Yes.
We would sort of have to stop ourselves, kind of like sort of almost like name-checking them by their characters and stuff. Like,
that's how it should have been identified in the credits. When you put the credits together, just put all their character names. Yes.
It was great because like what's really funny like working with those people because they were all great and it was just amazing having that people around. But again, like as a director, you get no. I mean, you guys did more than me, but you get no anecdote time with these people because it's so busy and you're kind of working so hard. And so it's really frustrating, kind of having like Edward Woodward and Billy Whitelaw and Paul Freeman on St. Jones, and then sort of a fly lands on his face, and then it goes in his mouth.
Oh,
and I remember as a kid, because I saw that like 3 times at the cinema, I would always be like sort of like, man, he like ate a fly during a take.
And didn't break character.
And I sort of said to Paul Freeman, there was a little lull in kind of like something had broken or whatever. So I was
So
just
you
saying,
want to fly, Paul?
no. But what was great is I said, you know what, there's something I've always wanted to ask you about Red Last Night. He goes, the fly. And he knew. And he said that Pauline Kael, when she reviewed Raiders, had mentioned the fly going in and said it was a testament to his kind of like sort of commitment to the role that he kept on acting whilst a fly went into his mouth. Amazing. There's so many kind of great people there now. There's 2.
But now Nick's not. We can talk about Nick now.
What do you want some
Just
dirt?
the truth about Nick. Fine, you know what? Big head. He's starting to get a little.
What you see is what you get. You couldn't find somebody who's more like, you know. Oh, Jesus.
Ah.
I went out there and I said, one of the guys has been sick. You got a class. They all got very serious. One of the guys has been sick.
Oh dear. I wish all junkers were this fun.